You are holding a small slip of paper. It is worth nothing today. Yet in 1602, a piece exactly like it made ordinary Dutch bakers and maids richer than kings. That slip was the world's first share of stock, and the company that printed it would grow so large it would eventually be worth, in today's money, an estimated $7.9 trillion. More than Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Facebook combined. By the end of this video, you'll understand that the market crash that could wipe out your savings tomorrow was invented by the exact same men who invented your ability to build wealth in the first place. The two are the same machine. It begins in a cold, damp office in Amsterdam. The year is 1602. The Dutch Republic is at war, poor, and surrounded by empires. But out in the east, on islands most Europeans couldn't find on a map, grew something worth more than gold: nutmeg, cloves, and pepper. A single sack of nutmeg bought in the Banda Islands could be sold in Europe for a 3,000% markup. The problem was getting it home. A voyage to the East Indies took 2 years. Ships sank, crews starved. Roughly 1 in 3 vessels never returned. So no single merchant was rich enough to gamble on a fleet, because one storm could erase a lifetime of savings in a single night. Picture that merchant. He is staring at a map of an ocean that has already swallowed his brother's ship and 40,000 guilders with it. He needs a way to spread the risk, but nobody had ever built one, so the Dutch government forced a solution. On March 20th, 1602, it merged 6 rival trading firms into one super company, the Verenigde Oostindische Compagnie, the Dutch East India Company, known forever after as the VOC. Then it did something no one in human history had ever done. It opened the company to the public. For the first time, you did not have to be a nobleman or a guild master to own a piece of a business. A servant named Neeltgen Cornelis put in her savings. A washerwoman invested. Anyone with 3 guilders could buy a share, and in return, they were promised a slice of every ship that came home heavy with spice. In a matter of weeks, the VOC raised 6.45 million guilders from 1,143 ordinary investors. The modern corporation was born. So was the shareholder. But a share is only useful if you can sell it. And here is where the story turns into something far stranger than a spice trading company. To handle all this buying and selling, Amsterdam built the world's first true stock exchange in 1611, a stone courtyard where, for the next 2 hours each day, men shouted prices for a single kind of paper. Fortunes moved by the minute. A share bought at 100 guilders in the morning might sell for 130 by dusk. And that is exactly when a man named Isaac Maire realized he could make money even when the ships were sinking. What he did next was so dangerous, the government banned it. And we still argue about whether it should be legal today. Isaac Maire was not a poor man. He had once sat on the VOC's own board, one of its largest shareholders, controlling over 150,000 guilders in stock. But in 1605, the other directors accused him of skimming funds and threw him out. He signed a document swearing he would never compete with the company again. He lied. In 1609, Maire gathered 9 other men into a secret syndicate. They called it the Groot Compagnie. Their plan had never been attempted before, and it was beautifully simple. They would get rich by making the VOC's stock fall. Here is how. Maire's group sold VOC shares they did not actually own, promising to deliver them to buyers months later. The bet was that, by delivery day, the price would have collapsed, so they could buy the shares cheaply, hand them over, and pocket the difference. You know this today by its modern name, short selling, and Maire had just invented it. But he didn't stop at betting on a decline. He engineered one. His syndicate spread rumors through the Amsterdam Exchange that a French rival was about to launch competing fleets, and that VOC ships were being lost at sea. Fear moved through the courtyard like a fever. The stock began to slide, dropping roughly 12% in a matter of months, and Maire's men stood ready to collect. So far, this looks like a clean story. A brilliant new machine for wealth, threatened by one greedy insider. That is the story most people know. It is wrong, because when you follow the money the VOC was actually paying its shareholders, you discover the first stock did not create wealth out of innovation alone. It created wealth out of conquest, and the courtyard in Amsterdam was quietly financing it. Those spices that made investors rich did not come from open trade. In 1621, a VOC governor named Jan Pieterszoon Koen sailed to the Banda Islands, the only place on Earth that grew nutmeg, to seize a total monopoly. What followed was not commerce. It was a massacre. The Bandanese population of roughly 15,000 was almost entirely destroyed through killing, starvation, and forced deportation. And every guilder of profit from that horror flowed back across the ocean into the same shares the washerwoman and the baker were holding. The dividends were real. In some years, the VOC paid returns of 18%, occasionally handing shareholders their profits in physical sacks of mace and pepper. But the price of those dividends was written in blood on the other side of the world. This is the untold half of the first stock. The instrument that let ordinary people build a future was fused, from birth, to a company willing to burn down islands to protect its margins. The market and the atrocity shared a single ledger. Maire, meanwhile, lost his war. The VOC petitioned the Dutch government, and in 1610, the state passed the first ban on short selling in history. Maire's bet went bad, his fortune evaporated, and he died in 1624. By his own gravestone's account, having lost more than 150,000 guilders in the space of 30-odd years. But the machine he helped build did not die with him. It grew, and it kept growing until it became the largest company that has ever existed on the face of the planet. Which raises the only question that actually matters to you. If a company this powerful, this profitable, this unstoppable could rise from a single slip of paper, then how, exactly, did it die? The VOC did not die in a storm. It died in a way far more familiar to you. For most of the 1600s, the company was a miracle. It commanded nearly 5,000 ships, employed close to 1 million Europeans over its lifetime, and paid dividends so reliably that its shares became the safest asset in Europe. A VOC share was better than gold, because gold just sat there. This paper paid you. But somewhere in that success, a rot set in, and it started with the dividends themselves. To keep its share price high, the VOC made a fateful choice. It kept paying large dividends even in years when its ships came home half empty. On paper, the company looked healthy. Underneath, it was paying its shareholders with money it did not have, borrowing to fund the payouts, quietly stacking up debt to preserve the illusion. You have watched modern companies do the exact same thing. So had the directors. They just called it stability. Then the costs came for them. Corruption spread so deeply through the company's ranks that clerks and captains skimmed cargo as a matter of routine. Employees mockingly said the letters VOC stood for Vergaan onder corruptie, perished under corruption. Wars drained the treasury, and when the Fourth Anglo-Dutch War erupted in 1780, the British Navy seized VOC ships and choked its trade routes. In 4 years, the company's debt exploded past 85 million guilders. The greatest corporation in human history was now a hollow ship, held up only by the flag still flying on its mast. On December 31st, 1799, the Dutch government let it die. The VOC was dissolved, its charter left to expire, its debts, by then around 219 million guilders, swallowed by the state. After 197 years, the company that invented the share simply ceased to exist. And that slip of paper from the very beginning of this story, the one held by the baker, the maid, the washerwoman named Neeltgen, every share became worth exactly what it looks like worth today: nothing. Here is what the first stock is really trying to tell you. The machine built in that Amsterdam courtyard in 1602 was never a wealth machine or a ruin machine. It was both, welded together, and it has never been separated since. The same invention that let a servant own a piece of the largest enterprise on earth also let Isaac Maire bet on its collapse, let its directors hide their rot behind dividends, and let its shareholders profit, for a while, from things they never had to look at. When you buy a share today, a fraction of a company you will never visit, run by people you will never meet, spreading your risk across thousands of strangers exactly as those Dutch merchants first did. You are holding the direct descendant of that 1602 slip of paper. The mechanics have barely changed in 400 years, which means the lesson has barely changed either. The market does not reward you for owning paper. It rewards you for owning something real underneath it. A company that actually builds, actually trades, actually creates value that lasts. When the paper drifts away from the reality beneath it, whether through rumor, through debt, or through a dividend that isn't really there, the fall always comes. It came for the richest company that ever existed. It can come for anything. So the next time someone hands you a piece of paper and tells you it will make you rich, remember the washerwoman and ask the only question that has mattered since 1602. What exactly is underneath it?